Sometimes when you buy something, it may not necessarily be broken. In fact, it could be in working condition. But that brings up another problem. Why would they sell it if it was working? The ideal answer would be that they were getting rid of it because they upgraded. But most times, that's not the case at all, as you're about to see with this one. Because for one brief moment, I thought I'd finally won the lottery. In today's video, we're going to be looking at this Poland leaf blower. And the problem is that I just bought it and I was told that it works, but I haven't tried to start it yet. Now, I know someone's going to ask, so you didn't try and start it there before you bought it? And the answer is, no I didn't, and that's because it would ruin the fun of finding out together. Now, I'm going to try and repair this leaf blower, but yours might be a bit different, so this might not work on yours. So if things are not working out for you, like in the video, please ask about it, and I'll be glad to answer your questions. Now before we go on, I'm going to take a look around and see what kind of condition the blower is in. And I'm happy to say that it's in pretty good condition. Next, I'll document all the important stickers just in case we need to buy some parts for it. So luckily for us, the fuel tank is almost full, so we might as well press on the purge bulb and see if that works, which looks like it does. So with plenty of fuel in the tank, the air purged from the system, I think it's time to see if the seller was lying. You know what, I think this has to be one of the first times a machine has worked and worked pretty well. However, there's just one problem. I can hear a slight knocking noise here and there, and these blowers are known to have loose bolts. And even though I know that some would tell me to just keep using it the way that it is, my plans are to sell it, and I'd like for it to not make that noise when I do. So if you give the intake a nudge, you can see that the top of the engine is moving in relation to the body of the blower. Now to me, that tells me that the bolts that hold the engine to the blower might have come loose over time. And while we have access to most of the engine, this would also be a great time to do a bit of maintenance as well. Now of course, we could always do that maintenance later on, but I like the idea of maximizing my efforts if possible. And since we're going to have the rear cover off the engine, this would also give us a better view of the movement we're seeing. And even though the movement is tiny, I think it's enough to cause the knocking noise that I'm hearing. And for those that might ask, the bolts that hold the cylinder to the block are not loose either. Next, I want to take off the blower tube to be able to film what the exhaust port looks like once the muffler is out of the way. The reason the tube has to come off is for filming clearance, but you're welcome to leave it on. And after looking inside the port, turns out there is some carbon buildup that'll need to be cleaned, but it's really not that bad. It's difficult to tell, but I'm also concerned that the piston ring might be somewhat stuck. However, if it was stuck, it doesn't seem to be affecting the engine, so I don't think that's the case. Now that we know the port needs minor cleaning, what about the spark arrestor screen? Well, luckily for us, the screen is about as clean as you can get it, so we'll put it back on. The screen is meant to keep sparks from leaving the muffler, but if it gets clogged with carbon, it could prevent hot air from leaving the muffler as well and keep the engine from getting to full speed. Next comes the fun part, and by that I mean removing a lot of screws so that we can take off the front blower housing. I have done this part without a power tool before, but it does start to lose its appeal after the 10th one. And with all those screws out of the blower, we can then separate the housing and expose the impeller. We'll then need to take it off the crankshaft, and once we do, we'll get access to the bolts that I think are loose. You don't need to use an impact to do this, but it does help, especially when putting it back on. I also noticed that there wasn't a lock washer on here, which is what the parts diagram shows should be on there. So there are 4 bolts that hold the engine to the rear housing, and it turns out the first one I checked was fairly tight. However, the other 3 weren't so lucky. That would explain why the knocking wasn't that bad. Now I know what I'm doing is a little bit strange, but I'm going to take out the bolts and then remove the engine so that we can service the recoil. The reason why is because we may never get a chance to service it again, so we're going to do it now. We'll also spray a thin lubricant on the springs for the starter poles, but you don't have to if you don't want to. Now this application of lube to parts of the recoil was obviously not needed since it was working quite well to begin with. But it's a whole lot easier to keep things working well versus trying to bring them back from a neglected state. After that, we'll then put the engine back onto the rear housing, reinstall the bolts, followed by the impeller with one big difference. But before I mention that, I do want to tell you that I will not be using thread locker on those bolts. It's just my choice to do it that way, but you're welcome to use whatever thread locker you want. So here's the difference I mentioned earlier. Instead of installing this flat washer that came off the blower, I'll be installing a lock washer. Not sure how this happened, but it looks like this flat washer was on there for a really long time. Now once the nut is back on, make sure to pull on the rope to make sure that the engine spins without any issues. Unfortunately, we're not ready to put the blower back together yet, and that's because I want to look at the carb. I will, however, put parts of the blower back on just so that it's a bit closer to being done. So what's the point in looking at the carb, especially since we know it seems to be working like it should be? The answer is pretty simple: peace of mind. We'll know that any work done on this carb is done right. So I just realized that there's a gasket sitting between the carb and the engine, which if you didn't know is not needed on this machine as it uses an O-ring instead. Now there's nothing wrong by installing it, but technically it shouldn't be there as you'd be doubling up on gaskets. And as you saw earlier, it didn't seem to hurt the engine's performance either. Next, we'll take this plate off and inspect the metering diaphragm, which should be in great condition, which it is. Now, I'm still going to inspect the rest of the carb, but I have this feeling that it's brand new and was installed quite recently. And I'm making that call because of the condition of the carb, the fuel lines, and that extra gasket that we found earlier. And because it seems like there's nothing wrong with it, we'll start to put it back together and then move on to the fuel lines. So why even bother with the fuel lines then? Aren't they new? Well, I'm not quite satisfied with how they were installed and would feel a whole lot better if I redid them. But obviously if you're okay with how your fuel lines look, then I'll respect your choice to leave them the way that they are. The first line that I'll be running is the fuel return line, so it only needs to extend at least an inch or so into the fuel tank. The extra fuel line should be enough to keep it from coming loose over time. Next, we'll use the same method for the fuel filter line. However, this time, we're going to need several inches of line inside the fuel tank, that way we can install the fuel filter. Once the fuel filter is connected to the line, we'll then need to make sure that it's located near the bottom of the tank and towards the front. Just keep in mind that when in use, the blower will be tilted towards the ground, so this portion of the fuel tank will have the last bits of fuel left in it. So with the bolts for the engine finally tightened, the spark arrestor screen checked along with the carb, it's now time to put everything back together. Now, I don't think I explained it, but the knocking sound was the impeller making intermittent contact with the blower housing. So what would have happened if I had just left it alone then? Well, I guess the impeller would have kept wearing away. But the bigger worry for me were the bolts for the engine coming completely loose and causing even more damage. So I am going to put the extra gasket on the carb even though it's not needed since the O-ring is still there. Also, make sure that you install a gasket between the carb and the filter base because it's going to help make the choke work a lot better. When connecting the fuel lines to the carb, the return line will connect to the brass port near the bulb. That means the filter line will connect to the brass port further away from the bulb. And once the fuel lines are connected, we'll then put some fuel into the tank and then test the flow through the system. So when pressing on the bulb, fuel will come up the filter line, enter the carb, fill the bulb, and then leave the carb through the return line and go back to the tank. And luckily for us, the fuel is moving through the lines just like it's supposed to. Now, if your fuel is not moving through the lines, then there could be a problem inside the carb. But what if the fuel is moving through the lines and the flow is very minimal, meaning the bulb is not filling all that well? So in my opinion, there is a problem. However, if you let it sit for a while or even overnight, it might just clear up. But if it doesn't get any better and you're still having a problem starting the machine, then I would do yourself a favor and just replace the carb. And with this machine being a residential grade blower, the carb is not that expensive to replace. But I do have to remind you that installing a brand new carb on a broken-in engine might require you to adjust the carb to make it work. Now on this carb, we'll need a special tool to be able to turn the screws, but yours might be different. Now the screw closer to the engine is the L screw and it's for low engine speed fuel adjustment. And that means the screw closer to the air filter is the H screw and it's for high speed fuel adjustment. And the only thing left to do is to start it up and see if we need to tune it. Now, to be honest, after looking at this video, where I've got it set at wasn't too far off from where it started. Not sure if whoever installed this carb tuned it or didn't touch it from the factory settings, but it wasn't too bad. Now, depending upon the condition of your engine, you might have to make quite a bit more adjustments just to get it to start and run. But you do have to remember that with every failed attempt to start a two-stroke engine could end up flooding the engine with too much fuel and making it a lot tougher to start the next time you try. I'd recommend taking out the spark plug and letting it sit for a while before trying again. But of course, you could always try to unflood the engine, but depending upon your physical condition, could end up tiring you out. This kind of repair is not for everyone, so if you're not sure what to do, try handing it off to someone who does. So my question is, would you have gone through and rechecked all the work someone else had done? I know it might seem a bit unneeded, but you never know what kind of work they did. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask me any questions about this project or about your own projects, and I hope to see you in the next video.